All right, so today we're going to start in standing position in mountain pose. So come to the top of your mat. I'm going to face you on my mat so you can see me. So come to mountain pose, and that can be with your feet together, feet touching, or with your feet hip distance apart, whatever's most comfortable to you. It doesn't matter which one. Once you find your foot position, just let your shoulders drop down. Take a moment, close your eyes, let your neck lengthen. And just take a moment to feel how your weight is distributed in your feet. Try to notice the soles of your feet pressing into your mat. And just feel where you tend to hold your weight. Are you on your toes? Are you on your heels? Are you on the sides of your feet? Just sort of feel where your weight is and try to distribute it evenly over both of your soles of your feet. And you can open your eyes and we'll take a breath together. So inhale deeply, stretch your arms out to the side, spread your fingers wide, reach up overhead, palms touch. And exhale all your air out, arms back down to your sides. Inhale your left arm up and stretch over to the right, reaching as far as you can, stretch that whole side of your left body, and then exhale back down. Inhale your right arm up, reaching over to the left. Stretch it long. Bicep is right next to your ear. Exhale back down. Let's do that one more time on each side. Inhale, left arm goes up. Stretch it over. Feel free to grasp your wrist and just give it a little gentle pull to deepen that stretch. Exhale your arms back down. One more time on the other side. Inhale your right arm up. Stretch over to the left and give your wrist a little gentle pull if that feels good. And then relax back down. If your feet aren't already hip distance apart, spread them hip distance apart. Feet are parallel. And just roll down. We're going to do a ragdoll here. So roll down, folding forward. Let your arms just dangle down. Let your head dangle down. Bend your knees deeply. And then grasp your elbows with opposite hands. And make sure your knees are bent so your torso is touching your thighs. Let your head drop down so the crown of your head is facing the floor. And then just take a few breaths here, sway back and forth. Feel free to shake your head around, yes and no. Just let everything feel really loose here. And then release your hands down to the ground, and we're going to come into a variation of this. So take your hands and place them underneath your feet. So palms are up. I'll turn sideways so you can see what this looks like. Your palms are up. Feet are stepping on your hands so that your toes are touching your wrist crease. Bend your knees deeply. Drop your head down. And just let the weight of your feet press into the palms of your hands to give your hands and your wrists a little massage here. Let your weight shift forward into your toes ever so slightly so that your big toes are pressing into the base of your thumbs. Let your upper body relax, let your shoulders relax. Just rock your feet back and forth if that feels good. And then gently release your hands back down to the ground, keeping your head down. For our third variation, take your hands behind your back and interlace your fingers. You can have your palms touching or apart, whatever's comfortable for you. Pull your shoulders back, push your chest out, and then let your hands, if it's comfortable, let your hands drop over your head and just grab your hands down toward that over your head, keeping your head dropped straight down. And you can straighten your legs a little bit more if that feels good for your hamstrings, or you can keep them bent. Just enjoy this opening across your shoulders and your chest. And then on your next inhale, use your core and your hands and your arms to pull yourself slowly, slowly back up to standing. Good. Just shake your hands out, give everything a shake. And then come back to mountain with your feet together. And we're gonna roll back down slowly. So forward fold, place your fingertips on the mat in front of you. Bend your left knee, keep your right knee straight. And then extend your right arm up to the sky. So you're twisting to the right, left fingertips are on the floor, left knee is bent. And really let your left hip sink down. Right leg is straight. Twisting up to the sky. And then release that right hand back down, fingertips touch the floor. Switch your legs, so bend your right knee, straighten your left knee. And as you inhale, extend your left arm up to the sky, reach it long. Really let your right hip sink down to the floor so you get a nice hamstring stretch on the left side. Take one more breath here. And release your left hand back down to the ground. Great job. And then just let everything hang one more time down for a nice forward fold. And slowly roll all the way back up to standing. Bend your knees, place your palms on the mat in front of you, and take a step back with both feet to our first downward dog. And we'll take a moment here to use downward dog to stretch everything out. So spread your fingers wide. Make sure your biceps are right next to your ears. Lift your hips high and feel free to bend your knees, bend one knee at a time. Stretch your legs out. Do whatever feels good here to stretch out what you need to stretch out in downward dog. Lift your hips up, stretch through your ribs and your armpits. Come up on your toes and drop your heels back down if that feels good. Great. And then when you're ready, lift your hips up high, pull your navel into your spine, and just let your heels sink down as much as they want to go towards the mat. And then take your left hand off the mat and reach it back to the outside of your right shin. And then just look up under your right armpit at the ceiling and press through your right hand to twist your torso to the right. Good, and release that left hand back down where it was. Take your right hand off the mat. Same thing on the other side. So grasp the outside of your left shin with your right hand, and then twist your torso around to gaze up under your left armpit, up at the ceiling. Twisting around, good. Gently put your right hand back where it was. Back to downward dog. Step your right foot forward for a lunge. Step it between your hands. It's totally fine if it takes more than one step to get there. And then once you're there, drop your back knee down, uncurl your toes. So we're coming into a low lunge. Make sure your knee is right over your ankle. Your top of your back foot is on the floor. And then inhale your arms up to the sky, reach up. And take a breath here to let your hips sink down. Really use this to open your hips up. Let your hips sink down towards the mat as you reach your arms up just a little bit higher. But try not to shrug your shoulders up to your ears. Just reach up with your hands. Good, and then release your hands down. Take your left hand to your knee and then twist around to the right. Stretch your right hand back behind you. Spread your fingers wide and use your left hand on your knee to twist yourself around to the right. And your gaze is just gently going in the direction of your right hand. Good, and then plant your hands back down next to your foot, curl your back toes under, and step back to downward dog. Lift your hips high. As you exhale, step your left foot forward. Same thing on the other side. So low lunge on the left. Let your right knee drop down to the mat. Curl your toes behind you. Check to make sure your knee is right over your ankle. And then inhale, lift your arms up to the sky as you let your hips sink down towards the mat. As you inhale, reach up with your arms. As you exhale, let your hips sink a little bit deeper here. And then release your hands down to your knee. Take your right hand to the outside of your left knee. And then stretch your left arm back behind you, opening up and twisting to the left.
Spread your fingers wide and gazing back over your left shoulder or in that direction. Twist your torso around to the left, getting a really nice stretch here, full body stretch. And then release both hands back down either side of your foot and step your left foot back to downward facing dog. Lift your hips up high. Shift forward to plank so your shoulders are right over your wrists, and then lower your knees down, uncurl your toes, and lower your chest all the way down so you're laying on your belly and your chest. We're going to do 3 cobras here. Each one is going to be a little bit bigger than the last. So first one is just a baby cobra. So your hands, palms are flat on the mat right next to your chest. Pull your shoulders back and then start to gently lift your head. Lift just the top part of your chest so your lower ribs are still touching the mat. Stay here for a moment, pull your shoulders back, lift your gaze up. And then as you exhale, lower back down, and you can rest your forehead on the mat. Take a little rest. Number 2, we'll go a little higher. Start to press into your hands as you inhale. Keep your elbows tucked into your body. And this time your lower ribs should come off the mat. Your abdomen is still on the mat. Pull your shoulders back, lift your gaze, open across your collarbones. And then with control, slowly lower yourself all the way back down. And for the third one, you can keep your hands where they are, or you can put your fingertips tented out a little wider to the sides if you like. And this one will be our highest one, so take a big inhale, pressing through your palms or your fingertips. Lift all the way up, pull your shoulders back, lift your gaze, open across your chest. Everything should be off the mat all the way down to your lower abdomen. Really enjoy this stretch here. Undoing all that sitting at a desk that we've all been doing. And then lower yourself back down, beautiful. Place your hands next to your chest on either side. Curl your toes back under and come back up to plank. Lower your knees down and sit back on your heels. We're going to come into a kneeling seated position, hero pose. If you like to sit in this position with a block between your knees, feel free to do that. I'm going to turn to face you. So find your hero pose, and we're going to do a few cactus arm cat-cows, which I think a couple of you have done before. This is one of my favorites. So take your arms up to cactus arms to the sides. So your elbows are right in line with your shoulders. Your elbows are at a 90-degree angle. Fingers spread really wide. And as you inhale, lift your gaze and open your chest up a little bit. As you exhale all your air, bring your elbows and your palms together. Tuck your chin into your chest. Cave your belly in. Inhale deeply, open everything up. Squeeze your shoulder blades together in the back. Open your chest up. Gaze is at the sky. Exhale, pull your elbows and palms together. Your chest and belly cave in, round your back. One more time for each of those. Inhale, open everything up. Pull your elbows back, squeeze your shoulders in the back. Spread your fingers wide. And as you exhale, pull your palms and elbows together. Really let your shoulders be wide in the back. Great, and then release and come back to neutral. Great job. We're going to stay in this kneeling position, and we're going to come into gate pose. So lift your hips up so you're kneeling. Your knees can be about hip distance apart. Right leg, twist it out to the side. Take your time with this. And in gate pose, your weight is on the knee that you're kneeling on. Your other leg, the top of your foot and your knee and your quad should all be facing straight up to the ceiling. So just slide your right hand down your right leg and inhale your left arm up over your ear, bicep right next to your ear, and reach over. And instead of caving down like that, you're keeping that arm right over your ear so your chest is opening up to the side. And just stretch over that leg.
And come back up to center, change sides. So kneeling on the right leg, extend your left leg out to the side. Toe is pointed down towards the mat. If it touches, that's great. Mine doesn't quite get there. Knee is facing up. And then inhale your right arm up over your head, bicep next to ear, and stretch down over that left leg. Keeping everything in line here, like your whole body could be between two panes of glass. And on your next inhale, come back up to kneeling. I'm going to turn sideways. You can stay right where you are. If this is hard on your knees, feel free to take your blanket or towel and put it under your knees. We're going to do a couple of half camels. We're not going to do a full camel. But before we do that, I want to just get your back a little bit more warmed up. So come into your kneeling position with your knees hip distance apart, and your feet should also be hip distance apart behind you. And then take your hands to your lower back with your fingertips pointing down. Pull your shoulders back and open your chest up. And as you inhale, just lean back. Keep your hands on your back. Lean back, use your core. Lean back to about 45 degrees. And then come back up. Let's do that one more time. Take a breath, and then pull your shoulders back, pull your elbows together in the back, and lean back. This is really good for your core. Lean, lean, lean. Try to get to about a 45-degree angle, and then come back upright. Great. Okay, last time we're going to do that, and this time, once you get back to that 45-degree angle, you're going to reach your right hand back to your right heel. You can also feel free to have your toes tucked if that's more comfortable for you. So your feet can be toes pointed or toes tucked. So hands on your lower back, fingertips pointing down. Pull your shoulders back, open your chest. Take a breath and lean back farther than you think you can, and then reach your right hand back to touch your right heel. And once you get there, lift your left hand up to the sky and press your right hand into that heel and reach your left hand up. If it's comfortable, you can let your head drop back a little bit and press your hips forward. Good, and when you're ready, don't come up yet. Take both hands back to your lower back for support. Once they're there, use your core to come all the way back. And then lower your hips back down and take a rest. Okay, we'll do that on the other side, minus the warm-ups. We'll just do the half camel on the other side. So come up, back on your knees. Find your position with your knees hip distance apart. Bring your hands to your lower back, fingertips pointing down. Pull your elbows together, pull your shoulders back, look up at the sky. Inhale and lean back. Use your core. Lean back, and then reach your left hand for your left heel. Once it's there, if it's there, reach your right arm up to the sky and let your head drop back and your hips shift forward just a little bit more. Beautiful. And then before you come back up, bring both hands to your lower back again and use your core to gently bring yourself back up. Awesome job. Lower your glutes back down to your heels. All right, we're going to come into tabletop from here. So come into tabletop. Make sure your hips are right over your knees, and then we're going to stretch out for extended puppy. So walk your hands forward, all the way forward. Spread your fingers wide. Your arms are straight, and then drop down to your mat. So your hips are right over your knees, forehead is down, arms are stretched out, and just take a breath here and feel that stretch through your armpits and your side ribs. That should feel really good. And then slowly walk your hands back up to tabletop. Again, feel free to put a folded blanket underneath your knees if your knees are a little bit tender. Make sure your shoulders are right over your wrists and your hips are right over your knees. And then lift your right leg up and extend your right foot behind you. Flex your toes as if you're trying to push that heel into a wall. So really engage your quads, flex that heel strongly. If you feel stable here, take your left arm and reach it out like you're going to shake somebody's hand so you're balancing. Or you can just leave that hand on the floor. And just take a moment here, find your balance. And then we're going to do a few knee to nose. So bring your right knee in towards your nose and bring your elbow in as well. Crunch it up. And as you inhale, extend your right leg behind you, left leg in front of you. We'll do that a couple more times. So exhale, squeeze it in, knee to nose. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, knee to nose. Squeeze it in. Inhale, lengthen, reach long. Two more. Exhale, knee to nose. Squeeze it in. Inhale, lengthen. One more time. You're doing great. Squeeze in. And then release down. Come back to tabletop. We'll do that on the other side, and then I promise we'll take a child's pose for a rest. So take your left leg behind you, extend it long, flex your toes like you're trying to push that heel into the wall behind you. Really flex it strongly, engage your quads. And then as you inhale, lift your right arm up like you're going to shake somebody's hand so your palm is facing the side. Find your balance here. And then inhale, stretch long. And as you exhale, pull your elbow in, pull your knee in tight, squeeze it, knee to nose. Inhale, stretch everything long. Exhale, squeeze it in, knee to nose. Inhale, stretch it long. Couple more. Exhale, squeeze your elbow in, squeeze your knee into your nose. Inhale, stretch everything out. Exhale, pull your knee into your nose. And stretch it out one more time. Beautiful. Bring your hand down, bring your knee down. Let your knees widen out, bring your big toes together, and then walk your hands forward, and we'll come into a nice wide child's pose here. Let your forehead drop down, and let everything go for a couple of breaths here. Feel your breath deepen. Breathing all the way into your lower abdomen. Try to feel your muscles around your tailbone expand as you breathe really deeply. Let your arms be really relaxed. Take one more breath here. And then when you're ready, just slowly make your way back up. And we're going to plant our hands on the mat, curl your toes under behind you, and lift your hips up to downward dog. Lift your hips up high, press your palms into the mat, spread your fingers wide. And then step your right foot forward into a high lunge. Take as many steps as you need to get there. Make sure your knee is right over your ankle. And this time you're keeping your back knee up off the mat. So this is a high lunge. And then inhale, come up and bring your arms out to cactus arms, just like we were doing earlier. So make sure you feel really stable in this lunge. Let your hips sink down. And then we're going to do eagle arms. So left arm under right. Twist your arms around and let your palms meet in front of you if that's possible. Or just come as close as you can. And then as you inhale, lift your elbows up in front of you, widening your shoulder blades apart in the back. As you exhale, sink your hips down a little bit lower. Use quad in the back. Beautiful. And then open your arms back up to cactus arms one more time. Exhale, both palms down to frame your foot. Keep your left hand down and lift your right hand up, twisting to the right. Reach up to the sky. Keep that back leg really strong here. Reaching up. Exhale your right hand back down and step your right foot back. Lift your hips up to downward facing dog. Great job. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So step your left foot forward into a high lunge. Take a moment to adjust your feet. Make sure your knee is right over your ankle. And then inhale, come up, find your cactus arms. So spread your fingers wide, sink your hips down. And then we're gonna come into eagle arm. So right arm under the left, twist your arms around. Try to meet your palms together if you can. And then as you inhale, lift your elbows up as you sink your hips a little bit further down, keeping that back leg straight and strong. Lift your elbows up, really strong here. And then exhale, open your arms back up to cactus arms and back down on either side of your foot. Keep your right palm planted into the mat. Lift your left arm up to the sky. Twisting to the left. Spread your fingers wide, reaching up. And exhale that hand back down. Step your left foot back to downward facing dog. And take a round of breath here. Lift your hips up high. Just let your heels drop down a little bit further towards the mat. And take a moment to make sure that the inside of your elbow is facing forward. So your triceps are sort of spiraling in towards your midline here. On your next inhale, lift your right leg up long behind you. And then exhale, swing it through for another lunge. This time we're going to come into warrior one. So warrior one is a lunge with your back heel down on the mat. So drop your back heel down and your foot is at a 45-degree angle. And then inhale, your arms up, come up to warrior one. So you're in a deep lunge with your back heel flat on the mat at a 45-degree angle. Great. Straighten out your front leg. And we're going to come into a little bit of a different stretch. This is called intense side stretch. So you're going to stay in this position with your feet. Your heels are aligned. Legs are straight. And then bring your arms behind you. And ultimately, you want to get your hands meeting in prayer behind your back. That can be a little hard to do. So option two is just fingertips at your lumbar spine, right down here. Or if that's uncomfortable, you can just grasp your wrists or grasp your elbows. So any one of those variations. If you can bring your hands to prayer, that's great. If not, try another variation. So straight legs with your hands behind your back. Inhale, lift your gaze and pull your shoulders back, open your chest. And then as you exhale, hinge at your hips and fold forward over that front leg. Your gaze is at your toes. Your spine is long and you're pulling your shoulders and your elbows back. And we'll take a couple of breaths in this position as you slowly just allow yourself to lower down really gently. You should be getting a really nice hamstring stretch here. One more breath, just take this really easy. And then slowly come back up, using your core to come all the way back up to standing. Great, shake your hands out. That can be a little hard on the wrists, but helps to work out a lot of that keyboard work we've been doing during the day. Plant your hands next on either side of that right foot and step back to downward dog. We'll do the same thing on the other side. So inhale your left foot up to the sky, and then as you exhale, swing it through for a lunge. Plant your back heel down, angle that right foot out to 45 degrees, and then inhale your arms up. This is warrior one. Straighten your front leg out, and then take your hands behind you in whatever variation. Again, totally fine to have your fingertips just barely touching at your lower back, or even grabbing wrists or elbows, whatever works for you. Straight legs. Hold as you inhale, gaze up at the sky, and then as you exhale, hinge at your hips, fold forward over that front leg. Your gaze is at your toes, and you're folding forward as you pull your shoulders back. Keeping your legs really straight and strong. And then when you're ready, use your core to slowly bring yourself all the way back up to standing. And feel free to shake your wrists out a little bit. All right, we're gonna do a couple of balancing poses just to bring things a little more still here. I'm gonna close my curtain. So we'll start with tree. So bring your weight onto your left foot. Check your other foot, just wiggle it around, make sure all your weight is in your left foot. Stand up really tall, lengthen your spine, and then bring that right foot to wherever you'd like to put it on your inside of your left leg. Your toes can be touching the floor, can be below your knee, or above your knee, wherever you'd like to put that foot. Wherever it is, really press the sole of your foot into your inner leg. And you can stay right here wherever your arms are comfortable. If you feel stable, you can try bringing your hands to prayer position at heart center. Let your shoulders drop down, let your tailbone tuck under. And if you'd like to challenge your balance, you can interlace your fingers, turn your hands inside out, keep your gaze on one point, and then raise your arms up so your palms are facing the sky. Make sure your shoulders are unshrugged. And as you lengthen your spine, try to open that right knee out just a little bit more. Beautiful. And then keeping your foot right where it is, bring your hands with control back to heart center. Lift your knee up, and we're going to come into dancer. So take your right hand, grasp the inside of your foot behind you, and before you start to kick it back, inhale, lift your left hand up to the sky and lengthen. And you can just stay right here if this feels like a good balance challenge for you, or you can start to lean forward a little bit. And as you lean forward, just start to kick your foot into your palm. And it's really not about how far you go, it's about how far you can go and be stable. So if you feel unstable, stop right there and just balance. Again, finding one spot to gaze at. Feel all the muscles in your foot working for you here. Really nice. And then slowly with control, come all the way back up to center. And just shake everything out for a moment. And we'll do that on the other side. So find your full body weight in your right foot. Shake your left foot a little bit. Make sure your weight is all in your right leg. And then find whatever position for your foot works for you. Really press that foot into your leg, press your leg into your foot. Bring your hands to heart center if that feels good. Take a moment, find your one spot to gaze at, lengthen your neck up. And then if you'd like to challenge your balance, just interlace your fingers, turn your hands inside out and raise them all the way up so your palms are facing the sky. Make sure your tailbone is tucked under. Shoulders are relaxed. Beautiful balance. And then slowly with control, bring your hands back to your chest, keeping your leg where it is. And then lift your knee up. Try to balance here. Take your left hand and grasp the inside of your left foot. Inhale your right arm up to the sky, lengthen, and you can just stand here like a stork balancing. Or you can start to shift your right hand forward and kick your back foot into your hands. Really press the top of that foot into your hands. And come forward as far as you can and still feel stable. Beautiful. And then slowly, slowly start to come back up with control. And release, shake everything out. Really nice balance. All right. Back to the top of the mat if you're not already there. To mountain pose, feet are together, shoulders drop down. Inhale, sweep your arms out to the side, then up overhead, palms touch. Exhale, fold forward all the way down, bend your knees, drop your head. Inhale, halfway lift, long spine. Exhale, step your left foot back to a lunge, and we're going to come into warrior two. So cartwheel your arms up and spin your back heel down to the mat. Take a moment here and check your alignment. Your feet should be perpendicular to each other Front knee right over your ankle. Gaze is over your right middle finger. Arms are stretching in opposite directions and shoulders are dropped down away from your ears. Really strong warriors here. And then straighten your front leg. We're going to come into triangle. So straighten your front leg. As you inhale, reach your right arm towards the wall, straight out over your right toes. Reach as long as you can. And then as you exhale, start to hinge down, reaching your right hand for your right foot or your right shin. Reach your left arm up to the sky. If you have a block nearby, this is a good place for a block. You can use a block to put your hand on in any position that you like. Or you can put your hand on your shin, ankle, top of your foot. And your whole body is in one line. So take one more round of breath here, reaching your left arm up to the sky. Try not to collapse down into your right hand, but lift up out of your waist. And then as you inhale, use your arms to come all the way back up. Bend your front knee. We're going to come into side angle stretch. So bend your front knee and bring your right elbow to your right knee. This is option 1 for this one. So your knee is right over your ankle. Inhale your left arm over your ear. So your bicep is right next to your ear. And the idea here is that you should have one long line of energy from your left fingertips all the way to the outside of your left foot. And you're opening up to the sky, so you're sort of gazing up at that arm. If you'd like to take this a little deeper, you can try taking your right hand down and touch your fingertips to the mat, either inside your foot or outside your foot. You can also use a block. So any of those variations is totally fine. Beautiful, and then slowly come all the way back up and cartwheel your hands back down to frame your foot and step back to downward facing dog. Inhale, lift your hips up high, let your heels drop down. Exhale, let it all out. And then inhale your left foot up to the sky, stretch it long, and step through for a lunge on the left. Come into warrior 2, so spin your back heel down, cartwheel your arms up, and find your strong warrior 2. Feet are perpendicular, knee is right over your ankle. Gaze is over your left middle finger. Lunging into this, let your shoulders drop away from your ears. And then straighten your front leg out. Inhale, reach long towards the wall, over your left toes. Reach, reach, reach. And then as you exhale, start to hinge down, letting your left hand rest on your ankle or your foot or your shin. And then inhale your right arm up to the sky, shifting your gaze to look up at your right hand. Try to make sure your whole body is in one line here. Beautiful. And then on your next inhale, come all the way back up to standing, keeping your arms out. Bend your left knee deeply. Coming into that side angle stretch, take your left elbow to your left knee. Inhale your right arm over your ear. Bicep is next to your ear. And find whatever hand variation you like, whichever one allows you to take a long line from your right fingertips all the way to the outside of your right foot. Really stretch that long, lunging a little bit deeper into that left leg. Great job. And then plant your right hand down, plant your left hand down, spin your back heel up, and come into a plank. Shift forward. You can feel free to lower your knees and then lower your chest down, or chaturanga, and then inhale, lift up. Exhale, lift your hips to downward facing dog. Take a breath here. And then shift your hips forward, come back into plank. So your shoulders are right over your wrists, your feet are hip distance apart. We're gonna do just a couple of side planks here for strength. So if side planks aren't your thing, feel free to just take child's pose and sit this out, it won't be long. But if you'd like to try it and challenge yourself a little bit, roll onto the outside of your right foot, put your weight in your right hand, bring your left foot on top of your right, or on the floor behind your right foot. Lift your hips up, lift your arm up, take a breath here, challenge yourself to hold this. And as you exhale, bring that hand back down, come back to your strong plank, pressing into your palms, lift the middle of your upper back up to the sky, and then roll over to side plank on the left. So outer edge of your left foot down, stack your feet however you like. Inhale, lift your right arm up to the sky, keep your right hip, or keep your hips up, stretch up, take another moment here, and then exhale your hands back down, come back to your really strong plank, pressing into your palms, lifting the middle of your back up to the sky. Beautiful. Come into a wide child's pose, so knees wide, big toes touching, drop your forehead down, and take a rest. See how your breath is feeling. Hopefully it's a little bit deeper than it was earlier. Breathing all the way down into your lower abdomen. And then when you're ready, push yourself back up to plank one more time. And we're going to come into pigeon on the right. So from plank, take your right knee right behind your right wrist. And then drop your back knee down and use your back toes to walk yourself back. Walk your back foot a little further back so that your hips can drop down. And if you have a folded blanket or folded towel, you can just tuck that underneath your right hip if you find that it's a little bit off the mat. And then before you fold forward, just take a moment to lengthen your spine up to the sky, sort of find your center of gravity so that your hips aren't falling off to one side or the other. And then once you feel centered, top of your back leg is on the floor. Just slowly start to fold forward, and you can stop wherever it's comfortable for you. You can rest down on your elbows and forearms. You can take a block and put it under your head if that feels good. And just relax down there. Or you can lower your head all the way down to the mat. Whichever one you choose, just take a moment here to turn your attention inward and check in with where you're holding tension. Try to release any tension you're holding in your shoulders, in your hips, in your jaw. And use this to help you release your hips just a little bit more. And one more breath here. And then lift your head up. Plant your hands in front of you. Curl your back toes under and step your right leg back to plank. Shoulders over wrists. And then take your left knee behind your left wrist. We'll come into pigeon on the left. So drop your back knee down, walk that foot back. Your left knee should be off to the side, not right in front of your torso. And let your hips lower down as much as they comfortably can. And if your left hip doesn't touch the mat, tuck a towel or blanket under there. And then lower your torso down. Again, letting everything release. If this is uncomfortable for you, try to find stillness in that discomfort and just breathe into it for a moment. You can hold this longer than you think. Breathe as deeply as you can, all the way down into your lower abdomen, using your breath to release tension. One more breath. And then lift your head up. Let your hands, and then just roll your hips over onto your left hip. We're going to just come into a seated position. So roll onto your left hip, swing your right leg around, and come into a seated position, however you like. And we'll just take a moment here to do a quick butterfly pose. So bring the soles of your feet together. Let your knees open out to the sides and interlace your fingers underneath your feet. And you can take a moment to lengthen your spine up and pull your shoulders back and open your knees out a little bit more. And then once you feel like you've gotten as much opening as you can in your hips, release your hands and just fold forward over your feet and let everything flop forward. So at this point, try not to put any effort into forcing yourself down. Just let your head drop down, let your shoulders drop down. We're starting to slow everything down. So if you have your block next to you, you can put it on top of your feet and rest your head on top of your block. And just take a moment to relax here. If you're using a block, go ahead and take that away. And then lay all the way back on your back. Pull your knees into your chest and give them a nice squeeze. And then bring your feet back down to the floor. Bring the soles of your feet together again. So this is reclined butterfly. So you're laying on your back. Knees are opening out to the sides. Soles of your feet are touching. And you can put your hands on your belly. You can put them out to the sides in a T. You can take them over your head, grasp opposite elbows if that feels good. Feel free to close your eyes and just start to slow everything down. Try to let your lower back relax. Let your shoulders relax. And then slowly pull your knees back into your chest. Give them another squeeze. Feel free to rock back and forth. Take a few little circles here. And then we're going to twist to each side. So keep your left knee in, stretch your right leg long, and then take your left knee over across your body, all the way over to the other side. Stretch your left arm out to your left, and if it's comfortable for your neck, you can gaze at your left hand. Keeping your right leg straight. Try your best to let your left shoulder just sink back towards the mat as you let your knee rest on the floor on the opposite side. And slowly pull both knees into your chest again. Lengthen your left leg out long, squeeze your right knee in. And then let that right knee cross over to the left. Extend your right arm out in the opposite direction. And just enjoy this nice deep twist. Slowing your breath down. And slowly bring both knees back into your chest. One more time. Last little squeeze before Shavasana. And then release both legs out. Let your legs be as wide as your mat. Let your feet flop open to the sides. Let your arms flop open to the sides with your palms facing up. Take a moment to wiggle around and adjust anything that needs adjusting. And once you feel comfortable, try to be still and heavy. This might be the only point in your day that you get to just let everything go. You have absolutely nothing you need to do at this moment except relax. There's nothing you need to do. So take a moment and scan your body. Starting at the crown of your head, just take a check. Let your eyes sink into their sockets. Let your forehead relax. Let your jaw and your tongue relax. Let your shoulders melt back into the mat. Let your hips release, your lower back, your thighs. Release your arms and your hands, your legs and your feet. And we'll just take another minute here to completely relax in silence. You can start to wiggle your fingers and your toes a little bit. Start to move your body around. Take a nice long stretch if you like. And then when you're ready, pull your knees into your chest. And use your knees to roll over onto your side. Slowly come up to a seated position, whatever seated position is comfortable for you. And we'll take one last breath together. So close your eyes, bring your hands to heart center. Let your shoulders drop down. Let all your air out. Exhale. And then take a deep inhale. Fill your lungs, fill your belly. Biggest breath of the day. And as you exhale, let your head drop down. Let all your air out. And release. Namaste. Thank you so much for joining me.